All right, so we're back here on another Sunday sit down, season 1, episode 5. I got my man Rob from the Football and Chill podcast.
What's going on,
What's going on
everybody?
for Rob? What's
I'm
going on,
chilling,
Rob?
man. Just trying to get through to football season, man. Just
Yes,
counting down
sir.
the days.
Who you telling? We ain't got long, but hopefully we can power through it.
Hopefully, we get
You
something
know,
though.
hopefully science can help us out and let's have a season. For the
Yep.
most part. But yeah, man, and yeah. So first of all, I love that hat.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, and a fellow Redskin fan as well. So definitely going to be a great show. It's going to be Redskin heavy. So
Been
buckle
trying to
up.
find one of those for a minute now.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the Football and Chill podcast. Just pretty much the journey of the podcast and about the
Man,
podcast.
it's been a wild journey. So I started in 2014. I bought my first mic and was really thinking on it. It was supposed to be like a whole general sports podcast. I didn't have a lot of support, and at the time, I felt like it was kind of lame. So I think I did one episode, maybe two, and then I stopped. Fast forward to about June last year, I was just listening to sports talk all day at work while I'm at home, and I told my wife, I was like, "Yo, I think I want to pick this back up." She was like, "Yeah, do it, definitely." And I was like, "Okay." I mean, if you're gonna support me, like let's do it. So I went and I found my old mic. I did a couple, and then from there, I just kept going with it. My first two episodes were trash. They were so bad that when I look back on it, it's almost cringeworthy. I'm just like, man, that was me. But I kept going with it. I had a few coworkers on at the time, and then I just started networking on Twitter from there. Just started now have a whole a dynasty league on with majority podcasters, and it's dope, man. It's a lot of fun. One thing I always love doing is I love talking sports, so I get to do it just as a hobby, and it's dope, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, man, that's funny because I started the podcast in 2014. So it's funny, like hearing that journey is like it's almost reminiscent of mine. Because at first I was like you, like I really didn't get a lot of like support in the beginning. I was like, I look at those old video of the old like podcasts. It's cringeworthy, but it's
Yep.
like you're saying, we just gotta keep going with it, and that's one
Yeah.
thing too, there. It's very very interesting. Like when you said 2014, I was like, I had a little smirk on my face, like, yeah, man, that was the year, like where all that's interesting.
Yeah.
2014, absolutely. So let's talk about let's do pretty much a review. Your thoughts on the 2019 Washington Redskins. So what was your thoughts on last season? Good, bad, ugly. Just throw it out there.
So the good. I'll start with the good. The good was that Jay Gruden was fired, and it was funny because I've been a Redskins fan pretty much my whole life.
Yeah,
I did not grow up in the DC area. I'm from California. My dad was a Redskins fan, so I was born into it. And I was just getting so fed up with Dan Snyder, Bruce Allen, Jay Gruden.
yeah,
I think after we lost to the Patriots, I told my wife, I said, if Jay Gruden is not fired by tomorrow, I'm going to a different team. And I started making a list, like where am I going? I live by Seattle. I live about an hour and a half away from Seattle. So first I was all right, Seahawks.
yeah.
Ironically, that is what woke me up was the ESPN notification. It woke me up about 3:35, 3:40. And I happened to look. I usually wake up about 4:15, and I look and I seen Jay Gruden fire, and I just laid in bed. It's gonna be a good day. It's gonna
Right.
be a good day. Um, but yeah, so that was obviously really the only good. The bad was Jay Gruden. The bad and the ugly, really. I mean, the way he ran that team, and I know a lot of it has to do with Dan Snyder at the same time. The way he is as an owner, has a very hands-on approach. We
Yeah.
look at teams with ownership is very kind of just they're there to make money. Robert Kraft jumps to mind automatically. He lets Bill Belichick run the team. The Rooney's out in Pittsburgh. They let Bill Cowher, Mike Tomlin run the team, and they consistent success. So I know that Jay Gruden wanted Daniel Jones. Obviously, that was the reports, and I believe it because he wanted nothing to do with RG3 either. When he came in, from the jump, it was all Kurt. So I believe it. I believe that Snyder really kind of forced his hand. Basically, was like, "Hey, I want Dwayne Haskins. Kids grew up together, one's in the same school, whatever the case. This is my guy." So Jay Gruden was like, "All right, fine. We'll draft him." No support with him. They threw him out to the first game against the Giants. Just threw him out there. Had no first team reps, no prep as a starter, nothing. Like they had him. I think they had him running scout team that week, or he was running with the threes. Like it was bad. They just threw him out there. He looked bad. I was very worried that game. But then, you look at the game against Detroit, he played very well. The game against Carolina, he played pretty well. And the last game against the Giants, had he not gotten hurt, I think we would have won that game, which, as much as I love winning, there's a side of me that I was like, okay, I'm glad, because I don't want to see Chase Young twice a year.
Correct.
I don't want to see him twice a year going after Dwayne Haskins like that. So that side of me is glad that we lost. We got that 2 pick, but he looked good in that game. I think overall we got a good young core. Obviously, Dwayne Haskins, Terry McLaurin, Steve Sims, or Cam Sims, I think his name is. Yeah. If guys can stay healthy, we have that core nucleus that we're good for a good 8 to 10 years.
Right. Yeah. And last season it was, I think the good is, like you're saying, seeing the naturalization process of Dwayne Haskins, which we'll allude to that a little later, but it wasn't like a situation where, especially during the Bill Callahan era, you seen these guys fight. You just realized that the team just wasn't talented enough to finish these 4 quarters and what have you. But you knew, hey, this is a blank canvas. These guys can just go out of line and just do what they have to do. And the bad was, pretty much the whole entire season.
True.
It's like, and going back to the good, I think the win in Carolina and the win in Miami were great wins. The Detroit one was a pretty good win as well. Mm-hmm. And that was one of those ones where it was more than controversial because, of course, that was the selfie game.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's just it was a bad season. It was one of those seasons that was really weird for me because they were coming off of a 7-9 team the previous year, and I'm like, okay, well, we shouldn't be that bad. And I remember USA Today was like, they're going to be like, I think they had us 3-13, and a part of me was like, there's no way on earth. Our defense can win 4 games, and obviously they didn't, but and it's just like the defense was horrible, which was a shock to me. That was another shocking development where our defense was just horrible. But I look at it just from the standpoint of and then the ugly. It was just this whole the ugly was, and it's funny that you talked about when Jay Gruden got fired. So then they had a press conference that afternoon. And Bruce Allen is talking about the culture is damn good. I'm like, you just fired a coach and you talking about your culture is good?
Right.
You just fired a head coach within the 6th week of the NFL season. And you're talking about we have a good culture.
Yeah.
Who believes that?
He did.
Right.
He was the only person. And I don't even think he believed it.
Right. When he said that, I had to stop him. Was like, that's Bruce. That's Bruce Allen, the president of the Washington Redskins, talking about an all-5 team that has a great culture. Like, you're not fooling nobody.
Yeah, nothing about that press conference made sense at all. I remember just watching First Take, Speak for Yourself, all the sports shows talking. They all said the same thing. Like, how do you basically said the same thing you just said? You don't get to 0-5 by having a great culture. You just don't. Right. You look at even one of the coaches that got fired, our coach now, Ron Rivera, yeah, he got fired, but they weren't 0-5. And his star quarterback has basically been hurt since the Super Bowl. So you can say, like, yeah, they had a good culture. There's no way in hell that we had a good culture.
That's right. Right.
Absolutely not.
Right. And all of it is just like, and that made me like you throwing Jay under the bus, because it's just like, why would you say that after you fire him? It's like, was he the problem? No, he wasn't the problem. The thing is, like you said, like you alluded earlier, the problem was they drafted guys that he didn't want.
Yeah.
So you can't win in this league by doing that. Like you said, everybody knew he wanted Daniel Jones. Everybody knew he didn't want no parts of Dwayne Haskins. And like you said, they threw him in the wolves against the Giants game. You're like, why is he in the game?
Yeah.
Like, and it's just like, and then they kill him because like, well, he didn't do much, and what you expect? Like,
exactly.
He wasn't prepared. But to me, that was an FU Redskins that essentially that's what Gruden was like. F y'all. This is what y'all want? Guess what? You know what? I'm gonna throw them in the wolves, and watch. And y'all can see how it feels.
Yeah.
This is what y'all wanted, huh? Oh, I'm gonna throw him out there and show y'all. And then y'all can pick him apart like crazy.
Yep. I mean, because even him and the whole coaching staff said up until that point, they were saying the whole time he's not ready. Yeah, I understand he was a first-round pick, but he's just not ready. He's not there yet. And the coaching staff the media ripped them, saying, what are you doing to his confidence? And you need to have faith. But at the same time, he clearly was not ready. Now, it might have been on the part of them not getting him ready, but I believe Jay Gruden knew his job was on the line. And I believe that he probably did try to some extent to get him ready to see what he had, and it just wasn't there.
Right. It didn't work out, obviously. And I wish him well in Jacksonville, and who say, but so Dwayne Haskins, we talked about him a little earlier. Your thoughts on just this process? What do you expect him in 2020 and beyond?
I expect 16-0 MVP. No, I do expect him to progress a lot. He's and say what you will about posting workout videos on Twitter and stuff like that, but he's clearly putting in the work. He went from, I think, about 230. He's down to close to 215 now, which he's never been a mobile quarterback, but with that line, he's going to be able to get out of the pocket, kind of extend the play a little bit. He's working on his athleticism. And to say that for somebody who has been criticized for his work ethic for his short career, he's showing you he can put it in the work. He dropped weight. He's been making the throws. He's been working with receivers. He's been working with AB, which I don't care what you say. I want that. I want him. At this point, what have we got to lose? You know what I mean? We got a young receiving core. This is the way I look at it. AB hasn't been in the news lately, negatively. He might be getting the mental help he needs. If he's not, I think Ron Rivera is a coach that can put him in check and get him that help. Why not? 1 year, $8 million deal. If he acts up, cut him. No harm, no foul.
Yeah. That's interesting. Now with Dwayne, I like him. I do think he has the tools, and I think my biggest knock for him is upstairs. Like, does he have it? Does he have what it takes mentally to the next level? And I think he showed even in the small sample size of last year when you looked at the situations where he did pretty good against playoff caliber teams. Like he did pretty good in that Green Bay game. He did pretty good against Philly. And then another playoff team in the Giants, which he had his best game statistically. And then he ended up getting hurt in the third quarter. So, like you said, who knows the outcome of that game? Because, he was on fire. Really, that game was almost like who had the ball last won that game, at that point. And the
Yeah.
thing with him is, I think he has it, and I'm hoping, and I'm thinking, I'm really just optimistic about Scott Turner, how he's going to use him in his offense, and how Cal Allen can help the learning curve, and help him with the
Hmm.
offense. So I'm looking at that dynamic, and like I do see him having a way better year this year, and I think he has an opportunity to become a good quarterback in his league, to a point where he could be potentially a franchise quarterback for this team for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. I completely agree, and I hope he is. I'm
Yeah,
we in the last 20 years we've had so much turnover at quarterback.
right,
We've had everywhere from Donovan McNabb to now Dwayne Haskins with John Beck thrown in there, Rex Grossman,
on deck.
Patrick Ramsey. Like
Yeah.
it's been wild. There's been very little consistency, and just I would like to see if we can get a consistent good quarterback back there with a solid head
Hmm.
coach, which I believe we have now.
Yeah.
We could make the playoffs this year with three wild card teams
Mhm.
because the East is not good. Dallas is still questionable. Yeah, they Dak finally signed his franchise tag, but really,
Mhm.
how good is he? That's the big question with Dallas is what can he do with the number one or top 10 receiver, a top five running back, and a top five line? You still win 8-8. So there's a question mark there. Carson Wentz, can he stay healthy? They gave him a couple more receivers, so hopefully maybe that'll help them. Not hopefully, but maybe that'll help them. And
Yeah.
I'm still not sold on Daniel Jones. Never have been.
Yeah.
The competition when he was at Duke, it's the ACC outside of Clemson is garbage.
Yeah.
And you look at what Dwayne Haskins did against the Big Ten, which in my opinion, top to bottom is the best conference in college football. Say what you want about the
Yeah.
SEC. The SEC is very top heavy. You got Bama, LSU, Georgia, and Auburn. Sometimes Florida. But when you got teams like Missouri, Arkansas, A&M, that the bottom feeders, I'm talking top to bottom, everywhere from Ohio
Hmm.
State, Penn State, Michigan State, Iowa State shocks some teams sometimes. Top to bottom, Big Ten is the best conference. And you see what Dwayne Haskins did against the Big Ten, with the exception
Right.
of Purdue.
Right.
Purdue ate him up. But outside of that, dude was on fire.
Exactly. And you know what's funny about all that too? And it's weird because I do like Daniel Jones to an extent. I think he will be okay, but like you said, I think he could be better than Daniel Jones and Dwayne Haskins. He'd be better than him. And like you said, the competition. And then we really got to really realize he's what, 21, 22 years old. So I
Yeah,
mean, he only started 1 year at Ohio State.
true.
So essentially, you thinking about it, this would literally be his third year of playing essentially, competitive football. And, like
Right.
not competitive, but big league. Because I mean,
Yeah.
Ohio State, like you said, big league just due to the competition, and they're playing against NFL caliber guys week in and week out.
Mm-hmm.
And so now this is his second year. Then now this will be his third year. So it's to a point where it's a process, and I think, and everybody learns on their own terms. He's not gonna be like a Patrick Mahomes where you sit him for 1 year, boom, he's MVP. The second year, boom, he's a Super Bowl MVP.
Right.
So that's one thing too. I think unfairly we expect these guys to make such an immediate impact, and some people will, and some people won't. Some people it takes the time, and then with this one situation where you were hoping that with the new coaching staff and everybody's in place, that everybody and he has stability versus who like, and you got to think about it. He played last year with a blank canvas. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, his offense coordinator was Kevin O'Connell at one point. Then it was, then because what's his face? Callahan was doing. He was doing some of the plays too at one point. I know they were.
Yeah.
It
I
was kind
think
of
he
like a
took
weird.
over play calling like the last 3 or 4 games of the season.
Yeah. So you look at that and you're like, okay, how can somebody survive and be, well, I won't say survive, but be successful in that when you have those type of change and that type of turnover. So it's hard to judge a guy like that, and you're like,
Yeah.
well, he was like look what we had to go through. So I mean, any quarterback in this league that had that type of change like he has will probably struggle just like him, or might be
Yeah.
even worse.
Yeah.
So I think he's gonna. One the thing is the continuity. If everybody stays around and really take a chance with him and really take this opportunity serious, the sky's the limit for
Yeah.
him. Yeah.
And that's
So
all. I mean, yeah, the biggest thing is going to be continuity. I feel like Ron Rivera is that continuity. He'll be able to. I think he's going to be able to keep Dan Snyder at bay and kind of say, hey, you know what? This is my team. I've been to a Super Bowl. I've done it before.
right,
Let me do it again.
right, right. And what's going on, Tom? Definitely appreciate you checking out the Sunday Sit Down with me and my guy Rob from the Football and Chill podcast. So the 2020 schedule. It's a very, very interesting yet intriguing schedule. Your thoughts on the schedule?
Very favorable.
Yeah.
I believe it's very favorable. Because so another podcast I listen to, the Beltway Bros, they're in the DC area.
Mm-hmm.
They're having us go, I think, not 5-10 or 6-10, 5-11.
Yeah.
And I just feel like I like I said, I think we can make the playoffs. I really do. Because I think the Giants, I think we'll win both against the Giants. We'll win one each against Dallas and Philly. And then we have the Bengals. I think we play the NFC North and the NFC West.
Yep.
I'm not sold on the Rams anymore. I think their magic is gone. I'm not sold on the Cardinals either. I don't think that they're as good as people think they're. I don't think Kyler Murray is as good as people think he is. So yeah, I think it's very favorable, and I think we have a solid chance because we also played the Browns, which again I'm not sold on them, and Bengals in DC, Panthers with a rookie head coach. The only ones I'm really worried about is obviously the Ravens and the Niners.
Yeah.
And we have the Lions again. So I think it's really favorable. I think we got a chance to go 9-7, 10-6, and sneak into the playoffs, especially since there's three wild card teams now.
Yeah.
I think it was a much better opportunity.
Yeah, this team is interesting. The schedule is weird because like how it's kind of positioned. I look at a lot of it too. I think September is going to be a pivotal month for us.
Yeah.
Because even though Arizona and Cleveland are tricky, like they're like one of the type of like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type of situation where you might catch them on a Sunday slipping, or you might have them, or they play at such a high level on that particular game that week that we play them.
Mm-hmm.
Arizona's tricky. Arizona's one of those where Arizona's always weird to me. Like every time we go to Arizona, it's almost like you always got to think in reverse, where it's like, okay, well, it could be a potential easy win, but we end up laying the egg. Like, and it's funny because in 2018, I was like, oh, we're gonna lose Arizona, and we shut them down.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, but they were like probably one of the worst teams. They were the worst team in the NFL, but still, Arizona's tricky because you think like we go to Arizona and we take care of business, it shouldn't be a problem. Cleveland's another thing. Cleveland's interesting. I think that's going to be another one where you're like, can we catch Cleveland maybe off of a win? If they have a win in the previous week, you're like, okay, well, maybe they'll be like kind of like having this like high euphoric, situation, and like, well, let's kind of, take kind of the gas off. October's interesting. And then going into you play Baltimore, you go to you play Baltimore. That's interesting. A home game, the Battle of Beltway.
Mm-hmm.
So that whole that first 4 games are pivotal. And
yeah,
like The middle of it is intriguing. You're looking at, like you said, the Rams. I think catching them at home. Giants would be interesting. Then the Cowboys. We played them on the 25th of October,
Mm-hmm.
and like that's interesting. But the point that I think what's going to be the pivotal, our holiday stretch is going to be like murder's row to me. You play Dallas on Thanksgiving, then you go to Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
and then you go to San Francisco, and then Seattle comes on the 20th, a couple of days after before Christmas, and you're like, "Woo, those are some intense games." And that's one of the things I think that's going to be pivotal for us going forward. I think those going to be the moments where it's really going to test the metal of this team.
Yeah.
It could be a point where I can still see them being in contention, but I think that 4-game stretch is going to be the make or break, and you're really going to see the toughness of this team because when you look at down the line those 4 teams, you're looking at it from now. We're thinking what today is the 28th of June. We all look at those 4 teams, our playoff team, and some of them, San Francisco. I think they're going to still be one of the best teams in the NFC.
Right.
Pittsburgh, I think they'll be back. Big Ben is back. They'll be healthier. Dallas could get in. You think just the shift back of them getting McCarthy and what have you.
Yeah.
And then Seattle's a sneaky team where, even though they're sneaky. This is simple fact of just having a guy like a Russell Wilson there. That's the equalizer where he can make up for Seattle's deficiency. So
Yeah.
those are going to be that's going to be an interesting stretch. I think if they even go 500, they can go 2-2 in that stretch. That's encouraging for me. I think going forward, going into the 2021 season, that's going to really, and I think a lot of guys' jobs are going to be on the line where you see, and that's when you're going to get that film. I guarantee that coaching staff is going to dissect the film for those 4 games and determine who's going to be on this team in 2021.
Right. So if you I'm looking at our first 10 games going into that Thanksgiving game against Dallas.
Yeah.
Optimistically, we can go 7-3, I think. Obviously, Ravens. I think we'll lose one of those to the Giants.
Yeah.
And either Arizona or Philly. I think the thing that helps us out with Cleveland is that it's early in the season and they're going to still be building chemistry. And Kevin Stefanski, first-time head coach, so they're still gonna be trying to build that chemistry. I think it's gonna help us. I think that's what's gonna put us over the edge against Cleveland. Because on paper, they're a great team. On paper, Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah.
So I think optimistically we can go. I'm looking at 7-3 those first 10 games, maybe 6-4. And then that final stretch, those 3 essentially 4 straight Super Bowl contenders. You got Dallas, Pittsburgh, San Francisco, and Seattle. All Super Bowl expectations with those rosters. So if we can go, like you said, if we can go 2-2 in that stretch, I think we'll be set up nicely. Try to sneak into the playoffs, make some noise.
Yeah, because now when you add that 3rd team, hell, you might win 9 games in NFC and make. At this point, and if you think about it, I forget who was the wild card. Because even Dallas is making it; they were 8-8. I think the wild card was like 9-7 or like 10-6.
It was Seattle and Minnesota.
Oh yeah, because I remember it was in Minnesota. Yeah, they were double-digit winners. Because I remember, and that's another thing that was interesting too how that played out. But I do definitely like the schedule. Because that stretch, I call it the holiday stretch, where it's just like we're gonna find out between Thanksgiving and Christmas, we're gonna really know what this team is all about going forward.
Yeah.
And what's going on, Mike? Appreciate you listening. And So, your realistic outlook for the 2020 Washington Redskins.
Realistically,
yeah,
I say 9-7. 9-7, 8-8. What do you say? Because I really like our coaching staff. I think Dwayne Haskins is going to improve a lot. And like we just talked about, I like our schedule. I think 9-7 is realistic. That 4-game stretch, I think, is going to hurt us a lot, and that's where most of our losses are going to come. Because it's as confident as I am in our team. If we're looking realistically, Dallas is always tough. Pittsburgh is Pittsburgh. Niners just came off of that Super Bowl appearance, and they didn't really lose anybody. They got rid of Emmanuel Sanders. Deebo Samuel got hurt, but they still got Kittle. As long as you got Kittle, it's like having Gronk. That's something you got a game plan for. And then I said Seahawks. To me, Russell Wilson, second best quarterback in the league. One of my favorite quarterbacks. One of my favorite non-Redskins players. And that 4-game stretch is going to be tough, but realistically, I think 9-7 is going to be good for us.
Yeah. And it's interesting though when you sit down and you think about it. I honestly think, and this is just me saying this now in the end of June, I'm kind of leaning towards maybe like 7-9, 6-10, right around that mark. I think the thing is, and I'm gonna be like kind of like somewhat of an optimist about it, and more so than a pessimistic about it. I honestly think that this team is headed to the right path. I think those days of being 3-13 are over. I see these stupid mock drafts. They're like, we're gonna be second again. I'm like, no. This team is good. This team is not gonna be like, to me, like, I don't see them off the gate becoming like the 2018 San Francisco, to the 4-12 San Francisco, to the 12-4 going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a quick fix. We got the people in place. I just want us to be patient. I think Ron Rivera has what it takes. I just want us to be patient. I don't want to be hearing these sports talk shows in D.C. and Maryland and Virginia. I don't want them to say 2 years down the line, we got to get rid of Riverboat Ron. No. It's going to take time. We have to give this guy some time to build this team. And I remember, and it's funny because he got hired in Carolina in like 2010 or 2011. Forgot what year. So they lost a game to Buffalo, I think about a point. This was in 2013. And I was in Charlotte, coincidentally. And I remember listening to those radio shows, and they're like, oh, man, you got to get Ron Rivera the hell out. Like, oh, how did we lose to Buffalo? And then he turned around that same exact year, and they won the division. And I just want Redskins fans to realize, hey, we have a great coach. It is going to take time. We were 3-13 last year, and we, like I said, and they could be 10-6, they could be or more. But if it's not, it's still a successful season. Like being 3-13 is pretty much is down in the dumps.
Yeah.
And to any type of improvement, hell, even 5 wins would be an improvement. 4 would be an improvement. So I just want people to be patient and realize that, hey, we got a great coach. It's probably one of our best coaches since Shanahan. And when you sit down and when you really think about it, and so we got the coaching in place, and especially in that type of coaching market, I really was shocked that he came. But I figured once Snyder, when Ron came for the interview, he wasn't gonna let him leave. And that's one thing I liked about Snyder. Snyder closes deals. Like, if he wants you, you're not leaving this building without a signed contract.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I love about Daniel Snyder. If he wants you, you're not leaving this building. You're not leaving this building without a signed contract and like, look, you're on board. And that's one thing I like about it. But I say 7-9. I just think this team could be 7-9, which is in a step in the right direction.
Oh yeah.
And I like this team, especially on the defensive side. I think this team on defense, I think just look at that, and I look at us almost like a miniature San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah.
And it's funny because they're building it the right way. And that's what kills me about what's going on in these day and times where everybody tries to reinvent the wheel. We all know you have to shore up your lines, your offensive and your defensive lines. They're your trenches. You can't build a house on a rocky foundation.
Right.
And people want to do that. People want to worry about the roof before the foundation.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. And that's why you have these teams that are consecutively that are bad, that have won playoff games in this century. You know, this is what happens. People don't follow the golden rule. And it's simple. San Francisco shows you the blueprint. They invested in their defensive line for the last 4 or 5 years. And look what has happened for them. And this is what we're doing. You're looking at, especially like you're looking at Montez Sweat on one end, and then you're getting Chase Young on the other.
Yeah.
And in that 4-3, you're like, Chase on one end, on the other end, and then you got Montez on the other. It's going to be a meeting at the quarterback. And I just hope everybody's ready.
Yep.
Because that defensive line is going to come for you, and it's going to be ferocious, and it's going to be nasty. So, Zeke, pack your lunch. Dak, pack your lunch. Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, pack your lunch. Pack your lunch. And Carson Wentz and his plethora of his running backs, pack your lunch. Pack your lunch. We're not playing.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of the 2012 Seahawks team. The way Pete Carroll putting that team together, just putting up beasts on that front seven.
Yep.
And it really helped out the DBs. I mean, I don't think the Legion of Boom would have been the Legion of Boom without that front seven.
Absolutely.
So, like you said, I like what we're doing. Switching to 4-3, I think it's going to be great. You still have there. Even you talked about the outside. I really still like the middle too, with Jerome Payne and Jonathan Allen. I think I was just going to stay eating on that line.
Right. And then Ioannidis, he's doing his thing, and then my guy Holcomb from the University of North Carolina. He's had some flashes last year, and I'm hoping it gets to that point. And I'm so glad that we end up getting Kendall back.
Yeah.
When I found I was like, I'm gonna be. And matter of fact, I remember I did a podcast because it was Super Bowl week. And we were kind of talking about Super Bowl, but I'm like, I was pissed because I was like, why are we trading Alex Smith for Kendall Fuller? Like, at that time, he was probably one of the best nickel corners in the league. And like, why would you get a 34-year-old quarterback for it? And it's crazy how I was pathetic in that. Because like, I was like, why would you get rid of Kendall Fuller? Like, out of all people on that secondary, you got rid of the best one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I understood because the most important position in all of sports, not just football, any sport, is quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our options were Kirk Cousins, which he wanted that $30+ million deal, which we weren't willing to give him, rightfully so. And at the time, I was all for paying him because we had no other options. We weren't low enough to draft a quarterback that year. We couldn't. There just weren't any other options. Remember, I was in Guam when I got that notification, and I read it, and I was like, okay.
Right.
Like, I like Alex Smith. I like the move, but giving up Kendall Fuller was and I mean, I understood it. If you're Kansas City, you're not just going to give up Alex Smith because he came off probably statistically his best career. He led the league in passer rating that year, Patrick Mahomes' rookie year. So he was serviceable. He was a good quarterback, and he showed it. We were 6-3 before he got hurt.
Right, and that's another thing where, and my biggest beef was the extension because it was like they gave him $70-something million. Well, no, it's 90-something. 70 million was guaranteed, something like that.
It was close to $100 million in total.
right. And I'm just like, okay. But I mean, that's one thing too, where it weirded me out because I was like, because I always looked at Alex Smith as like kind of a product of the system. So that was my biggest knock on him. And if we had guys, we had like an Andy Reid, an offensive genius. Even though I think Jay is a cadet to an extent,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he will do great in Jacksonville. I think once they kind of clutter Gardner Minshew and get maybe Trevor Lawrence next year, I think he'll go back to kind of the offensive guru that I think he potentially is. But that's
Yeah.
here or there. But the thing is with him, and that's interesting. I think where the Alex Smith thing did work out, like you said, they were 6-3 until the injury, and
Mm-hmm.
now he's probably never going to see the field. I mean, I don't think he will.
Yeah.
And I just
And
think, I mean, yeah,
it's unfortunate too, because I remember
yeah,
that season going into just that game against Houston, so much hype, and I mean, there was the first time that I had actually paid for NFL Sunday ticket. I
oh
think all the
yeah,
other years I was getting that free promotion from DirecTV, but I was that year I actually paid for it because I was hyped, especially going into that game. It was a winnable
mm-hmm.
game. I think that was Deshaun Watson's rookie year,
Yeah,
and just as soon as he got hurt, I knew that was it. Because
yeah,
right after he got hurt, he got hurt, and then right after that was the Dallas game on Thanksgiving, and
yeah.
then Colt got
Thanksgiving,
hurt.
yep. Colt got hurt,
Cole got
yep.
hurt, and then we moved on to Mark Sanchez. Then we brought in
Yeah,
Josh
Butt Fumble.
Johnson, Mr. Butt Fumble. We
Yeah,
brought in Josh Johnson, and I think you said we still finished 7-9.
right. And we won in Jacksonville, which was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another thing where you look at the schedule. Because I remember we played Jacksonville in December, and I'm like, because remember they were coming off the AFC East. I mean,
Yeah,
not AFC, but the AFC Championship game.
right.
And I remember thinking to myself, man, we might lose. I would have never imagined us going down there with a fourth string quarterback. A guy hasn't played a game since 2011 and
Mm-hmm.
wins a game.
Yeah,
Like it just shows you like how crazy the schedule works. The way we look at like how we're looking at the schedule now in June, it can be a whole lot different come, whenever, like November, December,
yeah,
January. And it trips
exactly.
me out because that was one of the games I was like, oh, that's gonna be tough. Like we can't win that game. But we won.
Yeah, we won that one,
Surprisingly.
and we were in it with against Tennessee for I think up until like 5 minutes
Oh,
left,
that was
and
heartbreaking.
that's when all the talk of Jay Gruden, needed to be fired and all that. And at the time, I wasn't with
Right.
it.
I'm
What
on
he was
yeah.
able to do with, and I think that year we had like a record like 26 players on IR that year.
Right,
Like I don't
right.
care what coach you are, you had 26 players on IR, you're not gonna
Yeah.
win.
You're not gonna win. And you're on your fourth string
Yep.
quarterback. And you're still out there every week competing.
Yeah.
Like he didn't lay down. That's the thing I loved about that team. They never laid down,
Mm-hmm.
even in the face of adversity. Man, you know how many teams, if they had their fourth string quarterback playing, man, they had their head in the sand.
Right.
There's no way a team like that could have survived.
Yep.
Like it's crazy.
And so the thing with Jay Gruden though is some people are just better coordinators than there are head coaches, and I think
Yeah,
Jay Gruden is one of those people.
absolutely.
Jay Gruden,
Yep.
Hugh Jackson, they're meant to be coordinators. And there's nothing
Right.
wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely
Yeah, I
nothing
mean,
wrong with that. If you
you're
can
right.
make your name as a great coordinator, look at Romeo Crennel, one of the
Right.
best defensive coordinators ever, and he tried
Mm-hmm.
his hand at head coaching for a minute, and it wasn't there,
And it failed.
and he
And it failed.
stuck with just being a coordinator.
Yeah. And he will. And I think he will. And I think, like I was saying earlier, I think Jacksonville is a perfect place for him because I think he's going to have the ability to kind of get an offense where he can kind of he can design.
Yep.
And so that's going to be good for him
Yeah.
going forward. But yeah. So there's somewhat of a slight controversy going on in Redskin Nation. So the previous George Preston Marshall the former owner of the Redskins, I think from 1931 up until his death in 1969. So there was a statue of him at RFK, and then also that was removed last week, and then also his name on the Wall of Fame will be removed as well. Your thoughts on how this is trickling down even in our Redskin nation?
I love it. I love the move. I think it was the right thing to do. I don't agree with the whole if you remove statues, you're erasing history. You're not.
No.
People still remember. People took away Reggie Bush's Heisman. I know I'm not trying to compare racism to somebody winning the Heisman, but you look on paper, nobody won the Heisman in 2005, but everybody knows who won the Heisman in 2005.
Right.
You're not erasing history. You're not trying to change it. You're just, there's no need for it. There's not.
Right.
And I think it's the right thing to do. There's no other thing to do other than just get his name out of there, remove him completely from our history, and just move forward.
Right. And I honestly, to me, I'm the same with you, because it does, in other words, having that type of statue isn't gonna erase what he has done. In my personal opinion, I knew about George Preston Marshall, but I didn't even know he had a statue in front of our RFK Stadium, to be honest with you.
True.
Until it got removed.
Yeah.
Because I guess maybe because we haven't been there in 23 years.
Right.
So it's kind of one of the things where it's just you forget about it. And then it's just, to me, it was rightfully so. I mean, when you sit down and you think about it, because and it's funny because I think even growing up, I mean, hearing about the stories, because I remember people used to it's funny, I didn't hear about him until, of course, our rival fans, they'll talk about it. Yeah, you had an owner that didn't want to sign black athletes. It took him 16 years after they can merge. And I'm and it's funny because I'm thinking y'all trolling, y'all just making fun of us.
Right.
It's true. And then this man, I mean, it's crazy the comments that he said. And it's crazy because because they asked him a question, essentially well, when will you sign an African American athlete? He's like, he'll sign an African American player once the Harlem Globetrotters sign a white player. And I'm like, wow, really? This man said this out of his mouth, and it can trip you out, And it's so crazy, but I mean, and that was the time period, and that was another thing where the NFL had to intervene, because I think it was a situation. I think P. Rozelle was like, look, if you want to be in this stadium and want to, continue your lease, man, you have to bring some black players on this team. You at least, and it's almost like it's sad that P. Rozelle had to kind of intervene, because if he didn't, who would have known? Because Marshall died in 1969. Just imagine when we probably wouldn't have had an African American player on his team until 1970 potentially, if it wasn't for the league intervening. And that's another thing where it kind of ties into what's going on now, where the influence that these commissioners in these leagues have, because you think about it, if they would have just let him just do what he did, who knows? And then what if he would have lived longer? What if
exactly.
And what if he would have lived longer? He would have been he may have died in the 70s or 80s, and no one intervened. Man, you may not even had Doug Williams. You may not have. You wouldn't have had Bobby Mitchell.
Yeah,
Bobby Mitchell would have been, he'd been an afterthought, because of course, if that would have happened, I mean, that's another thing when you sit down and you think about it, he has to be removed, and it's okay. We'll still remember him. Now, it's still, he still will be in the minds of people. He just won't be I call it immoralized.
He will be glamorized.
Glamorized, yeah, right. Perfect word. And you're like, and so it's one of those things where it's just like you get it. Like, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like it's okay. Like if he, we know the history, and then you like because I go to training camp every year. Unfortunately, we won't have it in my great city of Richmond, Virginia, the official home of the Redskins training camp. But they have things about George Preston Marshall, not plaster, but it shows you like the history of the Redskins.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, being the first owner of this franchise, there's still information about him, and it won't give you the coarse details or the quotes that he said that I mentioned earlier, but he is a part of this franchise, barely or not. But like you're saying, it's okay. Like you said, like going back to the Bush thing, you can get rid of the quote unquote record book, but we were there, we witnessed it.
Right.
We knew which one to Haskins. I mean, you can get rid of his trophy, but we all know, like, so it's we know. I mean, it's just, hey, you can wipe it all you want, but hey, it's still.
Yeah, and honestly, that's ultimately what it comes down to. You can remove the names, you can remove the correspondence on it, but we all know it was still there. It was still a very prominent thing, but luckily it got moved past, and we were able to make the progress we've made now, especially with the team where we're at, and it was just the right thing to do. No way around it.
Yeah, and now you're looking at it. Who'd have thought that we would have a minority head coach?
Right.
And that's another thing when you look at how all this kind of ties in, and you're like, we went from the first owner. He probably looked at Ron Rivera like, oh no, like barely or not. But if you look at how, in essence, how it is, like the stark contrast of this guy that was just refusal of having certain players on his team to now having a minority head coach.
Yep.
And wow, I mean, you look at it, even though it was a long time coming, but we're here. It has happened, and I think he's going to be here for the long haul. And
I hope so.
I think he will.
Yep.
We just gotta be patient. We just gotta love on him, even though hey, it's gonna be some tough times, but we're gonna have to love on that man.
I don't think it'll be a lot of them though.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but it's gonna be a point where it can be some, because you know how our fan base is. We might have a head scratching loss. It's the end of the world.
Yeah.
We just gotta be patient, and we just gotta realize, hey man, it's just a part of the process.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So let's put a bow on this week's Sunday sit down, man. Where can they find you on social media, Rob?
So you can find me everywhere on social media. Facebook and Instagram are both Football and Chill Podcasts. My Twitter is where I'm the most active, FNC Pod. I just created my YouTube channel, Football and Chill Podcast. I'm gonna hopefully start getting stuff on there, trying to really find my niche with the YouTube outside of the podcast. Yeah, that's where I'm at. Follow me on everything, like all my stuff. Let's keep connecting. This was fun, man. This was fun.
Yeah, man.
Finally able to get on with another Redskins fan and just talk Redskins, man. Hey,
and we're gonna talk, man. My left coast brother. We're gonna talk.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Look, this is just the beginning.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So yeah, man. So definitely follow the podcast, Couch Coach Live, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Also, check out the podcast. It'll be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get podcasts, and then we also have it on YouTube. So, any final words, Rob?
HTR.
Yes, sir. All day, every day.
All right, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. This has been Sunday Sit Down. I got Rob of the Football and Chill podcast, man. We'll catch you next go around. Appreciate it.
All right, man.
All right.